mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about episode 4 of the Hulu limited series, The Patient, inside our company. I first would have, of course, start by apologizing for getting this one out so late. It's currently Thursday the 15th. So I'm 2 days late on this one, but I have a good reason. On the 7th, my wife and I had it's my our third together. I had one kid before I met my wife, but I had my fourth kid. Well, my fourth kid was born on the 7th. Things have been a little hectic, of course, since then, but I got things kind of normalized now. We got a pattern down, so things should be going pretty back to normal pretty soon. I don't imagine I'll be getting any of these out late in the future. This is probably the one and only time that I'm going to be late with this one. But that's the first order of business. The second is that I wanted to introduce my third patron, Des. She will now join Delvin Cox and Factual, so shout out to those three. If you're curious about the Patreon, there's a link in the description, and you can watch the video titled Major Announcement, which is not too far down if you're going chronologically, but just, you can just search it. So, ready to talk about episode 4, Company, and I want to start by saying that I feel like this show is introducing things that are interesting to me and things that are worth talking about on these videos, but I feel I'm starting to grow a little impatient. I'm going to explain why. When I saw that this was going to be a 30-minute drama, I think it's probably 30 minutes when you have commercials. I do the Hulu, the ad-free on Hulu, so I don't have commercials, so they run about 23 to 25 minutes, around that range. And I've never watched a 23-minute drama, and I'm like, I don't really know what to expect here, but a lot of the complaints about that I've had about certain dramas is that they're too long and drawn out. I'll say, like, this thing was 10 episodes, this could have been 6 or 7, or this thing was 6 or 7 episodes, this probably should have been a 2-hour movie. So, like, having 25-minute or so, give or take, episodes, to me felt like an opportunity to trim the fat, and I expected the show to feel, as far as, like, content and the way, not even the way in which the story was delivered, but kind of like the means in which it was delivered, to feel a little bit more compressed and compact. And what I mean by that is, like, I expected each 25-minute episode to be pretty packed full of, like, moments, emotion, moving the plot forward. Very concentrated, I think, is the best word. I think if you take what's, most shows nowadays are 10-hour-long episodes. So you look at 10 hours of content. Here, we're looking at 10 episodes at half that time, at about 30 minutes. So I'm expecting kind of like the same level of general content, like thematically, storyline-wise, that you would get in a full hour-long episode, kind of compressed and concentrated into these 30 minutes. So I'm thinking that, each of these episodes are going to be like, they're probably all going to feel like finales almost, maybe not to that degree, but I expected them to feel a lot more highly concentrated in material. And after this 4th episode, it's really starting to feel like we're getting like the complete opposite of that, kind of like a drip feed of moments where it's like, okay, that's interesting. We've learned a little bit more about Sam. We've learned a little bit more about Al. And I'm like, it's only 25 minutes. Why are we still taking our time? And I feel like this show, which was kind of billed as like a suspense thriller, is kind of starting to move into this position where they might be taking too long to get to the meat of what I think this season and this show is supposed to feel like. Like they're going to give us like these drip feeds in these first, I don't know, let's just say 5 episodes. And then the later 5, they're going to give us, a little bit more suspense, action, and stuff like that. And I'm just concerned that, one, taking too long to get to where we feel like we're actually feeling something could be detrimental to just the eyeballs, like how many people are going to watch the show. But I'm just concerned that it's going to feel very disjointed. Like you're going to have like the slow moving kind of slow paced portion, and then there's gonna be like a jerky, full throttle, suspenseful portion as well. And I'm sure I'm gonna like, if that happens, I'm sure I'm gonna like the full throttle suspense version, but it could make for a clunky season. And this episode, which like I said, there's moments that I think are definitely worth discussing, but by and large, it kind of feels like we're just getting we're just moving a little bit, getting a little bit at a time. And for me, that's kind of the opposite of what I expected of a 25-minute drama. I expected, to get punched in the gut every week, and it's not what's happening. But I do want to talk about some of the stuff that did happen in this episode. And I want to start by talking about how Sam tells Alan that he stopped himself from killing this guy from the restaurant because he made a promise to Alan that he would talk to Alan before he killed anyone. And when he said that, my immediate response was, no shit. Was that supposed to be like a bit like, that's what I gleaned from the end of the last episode. When he brought a guy in and threw him in the room and then left, my immediate response, and I'm pretty sure it's documented in the last video, was that was the guy that he's been wanting to kill, and he threw him in there and is like, well, I almost killed this guy, but let's talk about it. Like, that was what I gleaned from the end of, like, a whole 7 days prior to watching this episode. I had already arrived at the conclusion that was what was happening. And then Sam comes in and explains it. I'm just like, we only got 25 minutes here, people. What the fuck are we doing? But yeah, I just wanted that to be. I just wanted to point out that I just felt like that. I felt like that was the best example of wasted time when we only have 25 minutes of runtime to deal with. And I feel like that, like I said, that needs to be more concentrated. And I'm sitting here like, yo, we wasted time with this motherfucker telling me some shit I figured out a week ago. Like, come on, man. But I do think, in all seriousness, that we are meant to glean from that Sam's commitment to following through on his promise. But again, I mean, I picked that up at the end of the last episode. But Alan tells him to go to work and kind of like use that as a distraction. And, he's like, if you want to, call me, call here, have your mom put me on the phone, we could talk about it. He's like, I can't do it. And I love how Alan goes, you can, like he shouts at him, and then immediately goes like, you can. like, sorry, man, I got a little ahead of myself there. I didn't mean to come at you so hard. I know you be killing motherfuckers. I didn't want to offend you. But I love how Steve Carell delivered that. It was like a release of frustration immediately followed by regret and absolution. And I like how he did that. So Sam does go to work, and then after having recognition read in front of the whole staff, he does call, and he calls to have Alan essentially distract him from wanting to kill Elias, who is Elias. We find out, I don't think they actually say his name until the end of the episode, but the captions the whole time said Elias, because if you're somebody who watches with subtitles like I do, and it's not because I can't hear, it's just because I don't want to miss anything, but whenever a character speaks off screen, they put that person's name, a colon, and then whatever it is that they said. Almost all of Elias's dialogue in this episode is off screen because he's on the other side of a door. So we see Alan, and this is a credit to Steve Carell, having to act toward a door and not a person. But because of that, anytime Elias spoke, it told me his name. So it wasn't until they introduced each other at the end that I realized I had known it the whole time, but they hadn't actually said it, which was kind of like this episode's, I guess, kind of like big closing moment is like, oh, we have a name. But like, that didn't even land for me because I already knew the name. But but hey, that's just how it goes. But he decides to call because he can't stop thinking about killing Elias. And this also gives us an opportunity to get a look at Elias, I think, in a very non-literal sense, because we don't actually see him until the end. And even then, we only get him kind of briefly profile. But Sam makes this guy sound like a piece of shit the entire season. But then once we hear from this guy, we get to see his side of things and his humanity. And we hear him talk about this relationship with his mother and this meal that he made for her in order to help get her through something. It was something where it was done to help her feel better about something. and he wants to leave a message for them. He's like, tell my mom and dad I love them or something. Like Alan got out a whole pen and paper, like this dude was about to write out a whole, like about to dictate his will, and he just was like, "Dear mom and dad, love you, bye," and that was it. But I'm assuming that we're gonna move toward a direction, and I don't know how I'm gonna feel if that happens, but I'm assuming we're moving toward a direction where Alan is going to use Elias's dedication and love for his mother as a means of comparing that to Sam and going, hey, look, you two share a love of your mother's. Doesn't that make him not worth killing? Like, I'm assuming that's where we're going, and then I'm also going to assume that Sam's not going to buy it, but we'll see. But Sam calls, and I love this scene because, well, I love and hate this scene. The scene where Sam and Alan are talking over speakerphone with Sam's mother holding the phone, and he's trying to coach coach Sam through this situation to stop him from coming home and killing Elias. And the thing that makes the scene cool is that the battery on the phone is dying. So every couple of seconds you hear like charge phone battery or something like that. And it adds a level of tension to an already tense phone call, because the phone call is very like, look, listen to me, you cannot kill this guy. Like it's very frantic. It feels like, if Alan doesn't say the right thing and Sam hangs up at any moment, it's a wrap for Elias. So it's a very high pressure call. And then you have this charge phone battery thing happening every few seconds. It's like, holy shit. And I'm sitting here like, he's going to get to a part where he's like, listen to me, Sam, do exactly what I'm about to say and everything will be perfect. And then the phone call drops and the battery dies. I'm thinking like, that's where this is going. And it doesn't, which is kind of why I don't like this scene, because it was like, they built up this tension. And you're like, oh, something's going to happen. And then nothing ultimately happens. But again, that's kind of the purpose of it, though, is to add that tension to the scene. They don't have to necessarily pay it off when something happening. You're just supposed to be really engulfed in that scene. And I think we all were. So kudos to that scene. That was really good. But speaking of moms, Sam's mom suggests earlier in the episode when she comes down to talk to Alan that his dad isn't the reason that Sam behaves this way. He says something like, hey, maybe we could talk about the father some more. And she's like, we can talk about him all you want, but the father ain't got nothing to do with this. Sam always been fucked up. She doesn't say that, but that's what we're meant to take from it. And I think that's going to get interesting as well. Because, like, the idea of delving into, hey, why does this guy kill people? Oh, it's because his dad beat the shit out of him. It's like, okay, but, like, is that a fictional story that we need committed to the screen for this show? Like, give me something with a little bit of extra kick in it, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, like, his dad beat the shit out of him. That could essentially be part of why he became like this. But a lot of parents beat the shit out of their kids, whether you look at it as beat the shit out of them as abuse, whether you look at it as spankings, whatever you may call it. This happens a lot through history, and they don't all become serial killers. So I'm looking forward to getting out of the my dad beat me, that's why I'm like this framework, and getting into something that's a little bit more into like, okay, what was Sam like as a kid? What other experiences did he have outside of his father? Did he have any experiences before his father started getting abusive? Like, did his father used to be fine and then he got into drugs, but Sam was still fucked up during that time? Like, so I'm interested to see Alan start to kind of like pick away at Sam's exterior. Maybe we could find out a little bit more about his past that might paint a better picture of why he's like this, as opposed to like the kind of very simple, generic, like, yeah, my dad fucked me up. Like, he keeps going back to that and keeping it that simple, and I'm really hoping that there's more. So the idea that the mom said there's more to it than that, essentially, or he was always like this, gives me some hope that we're going to find out a little bit more about Sam's past that's a little bit more compelling than my dad fucked me up. One other thing I want to talk about, and I think I kind of want to have a dialogue about this in the comments, see what you guys thought about it. But there's a flashback to Alan's wife when she was still alive, and she's serving food to their daughter's kids, the non-Orthodox Jew. They're not called unorthodox, are they? That'd be weird. The non-Orthodox Jew part of the family, and she doesn't serve food to the son's kids, who are the Orthodox portion of the grandkids, and who I'm assuming cannot eat whatever it is that the wife prepared. And the scene comes off very much like the son showing resentment toward the mother. And I read a review, I think, of this episode where, well, I don't think I read it, I did read it, a review of this episode where the reviewer thought that that scene was meant to reflect poorly on Beth, his wife, Alan's wife. Or that at least that's how he took it. He thought Beth looked not so great in this scene. And I didn't really look at that scene any kind of way because I looked at it like, I don't know, this could just be me and my built-in disdain for pointless fucking rules, but I looked at that scene and I'm like, this is a guy who made the conscious choice to subject himself and his family to a stupid fucking portion of his religion that says women can't sing at a ceremony, and now he can't eat whatever the fuck food this is that I'm sure is perfectly fine. And then I'm supposed to sit there and go feel sympathetic to him, like, oh, the mom didn't serve his kids whatever the fuck she served the daughter's kids. The mom didn't tell him to adopt a stupid fucking religion with dumb fucking rules. Like, you don't want your kids to feel separate. Don't force them into some stupid version of their religion that restricts all kinds of things that should not have any relevance in whether or not you go into a positive afterlife. Like I said last week, I wouldn't want to serve a deity that says you can't sing it, women can't sing at ceremonies. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people? I'm sorry. All that to say, I'm curious how you guys interpreted that scene. What do you think the show was trying to tell us? And what did you think of Alan's wife in that moment? I just kind of looked at it as like an unfortunate consequence of a stupid fucking decision. But maybe you guys might look at it as this wife being unfair. And I also can see the side where, maybe the wife should have prepared something that the son's kids could eat. So then you look at it as a different direction. It's like, okay, well, yes, he made that decision to subject his kids to a stupid fucking religion, but at the same time, that's still your kid, that's still your grandkids. Don't play favorites. Make them something that's orthodox for them to eat versus, only serving one portion of the family. So I could see both sides, but I didn't hold anything against the wife because I think that that's a stupid situation anyway. But personally, were it me, I love my kids. So I'm going to love my kids, and I'm going to give them whatever it is that they can eat. I'm not going to not serve them because of the decisions of their parents. That's me. But I'm also being me. I don't have any problem with what I saw either. I don't know. I'm an asshole. Who knows? So I'm more so curious whether or not what you think that the show wants us to think. Are we supposed to be looking at the wife as the bad guy in that situation, potentially for not making something that she could serve to the kids? Or are we supposed to look at it as just like an unfortunate set of consequences of the son's decisions? I don't know. But there's been, I think I've kind of tied the son giving looks of displeasure to the son being a dumb fuck. So when the son gives looks of displeasure here, I'm like, well, you're a dumb motherfucker. Of course you're displeased. But again, that's just me. So last thing I want to talk about before I give a couple of thoughts real quick and wrap this up. This went way longer than I expected. I like when Alan asked to turn off the noise machine at the end of the episode and Sam starts to go in there. Then he stops, pauses, and then he just yanks the cord out of the wall. And to me, that read like a much better example of Sam committing to not killing someone without having properly vetted the situation with Alan, like his commitment to not killing this guy. Because that read to me like, if I go in there, I might kill this motherfucker, so I'm just going to snatch the cord out the wall so I don't even have to go in there. That's how that read to me, and I feel like that kind of like ambiguous, kind of like you can interpret this how you want, like that to me felt like a smarter way of showing Sam's commitment to the process, to the therapy, than the thing at the beginning where he's just like, where he just flat out explains what I had already deduced at the end of the last episode. So, real quick before I wrap up, a couple of thoughts. We continue to note, to be shown Sam's very particular food habits, the fact that he has to pee all the fucking time, and now we learn that he's obsessed with Kenny Chesney, and I'm just wondering, are these things leading somewhere? And this is like a rhetorical open question for you guys to answer if you see fit. Are these things meant to go somewhere? Or are these things to just kind of help us get a more three-dimensional picture of who Sam is? Because it feels to me like it's leading somewhere. Like we're going to get into a point where we're going to find out, okay, why is he in the food industry in the first place. Look how passionate this guy is about food. Why is that? Why does he have to pee all the time? Is there something wrong with him? Does he have a kidney issue? Like, I feel like all of these things are gonna come into play later. But let me know what you think. So let me know, and I will see you guys next week for episode 5. Peace.